You grew up with Pope Leo. What's your reaction to all this? What did you think when you first heard the news, our first American Pope, a man who you know?
Well, it's always surprising when somebody gets a really big position, but it's not really unexpected. My experience with Pope Leo now, or I keep calling him Father Robert, Robert, is that he's very capable. He has great insights into things, and he has a world experience because of being our prior general for Augustinians. And knowing him when we were 13 years together in our seminary formation from an olden time when you had high school seminaries, then we went to college, then we did our 1-year novitiate, which is special for Augustinians, is a year of discernment. And then we had 4 years of theology. And then that's when our paths kind of split. Pope went to the Vatican, went to Rome to study, and so that switched. But during it all, he was a person that always was very organized. He listens to people. Probably he takes time to make decisions because he really tries to get all the information before he would make a decision. So that might, at times, could be a little frustrating for people that they may want snap decisions, for somebody new. But he's going to take his time to pray and discern and gather as much information as possible.
I'm curious, Dr. Swafford, it seems like America gets so much hate around the world lately. People want us to think that nobody likes us. At least that's what some of the media seems to portray. But they chose an American as the new pope. What do you think? How did you react to it?
Oh gosh, I mean, just with great joy, so surprised, so shocked, and I just kind of moved by watching him. When he was on the loggia, and you could see the tears well up in his eyes, and just him kind of taking in the moment. And then, later on in his remarks, referred to himself as, "I'm a son of Saint Augustine, Saint Augustine. With you, I am Christian. For you, I am bishop." And as Father knows, Augustine in that context there, he's speaking of the trepidation he has with the duty of being bishop, but the great consolation and the saving mercy of Christ in being a Christian. And so I just think great joy. I think he can be a unifying figure, can bring different parts of the church together. He's an American, but he spent so much time, as you all know, in Peru as a missionary, as a bishop down there. So I'm just really excited for this.
Yeah, it was just so interesting to hear him speak in that soundbite, to hear the American accent. He didn't speak English at all today when he addressed the crowd. He spoke only in Italian. Did that surprise you? Were you expecting, since he's American, some form of English in his address?
My read on that was that it was intentional, I think. It was him. This is just my read on it. Kind of saying, I am the Pope of the whole world. I'm not just the Pope of America, Pope of the States, speaking in Italian, in Spanish, praying the Ave Maria in Latin. I think it was a gesture toward the universality of the office.
Yeah. Father Bill, there's still a lot of mistrust with the church. You think back to the sex scandal, it's still very raw for a lot of people. How do you think Pope Leo is going to handle that moving forward and address it?
Well, he will be respectful to any allegations and stuff that are brought up. You always respect those people who bring the allegations, and he will work to find and minister to those who have been abused, and also then make sure that the abusers, in any case, are not allowed to do it any further. So I'm sure he'll be okay. I'm sure he'll do due diligence in that.
Pope Francis, a lot of us think of him as being very low-key, didn't like all the pomp and circumstance, down to earth, didn't even live at the Vatican. Do you think we can expect that also from Pope Leo? Do they have similar characteristics in that way, Father Bill?
Yeah, Bob is a very simple person and stuff. We all have our likes and dislikes of some stuff. One of the things I do remember about him, he loves to drive. So that's going to be very interesting if he's going to ever drive the Pope-mobile. He really likes to drive. That was one of the things I always remember about him and like to travel. But I think he always lived simply. That was one of his characteristics. He wasn't very extravagant.
Yeah,
in what he had.
It's hard to imagine him being able to drive anymore, though. I guess you never know. They let Pope Francis live off-site. Do you think he expected it at all, Father Bill? I think back to with Pope Francis, he had his airline ticket back home. He didn't expect it at all. Do you think that Pope Louis did?
I don't know, because even though we're classmates for all these years, we haven't had a lot of contact because of the way God called us to different ministries in the church. But I would think that as it became apparent to him how he was invited by Pope Francis to become more a member, of the College of Cardinals. It probably crossed his mind, especially since he was our prior general of the Augustinians. So it wasn't like he wouldn't expect a leadership role. I'm not saying he was wanting it, but it wouldn't be that much of a surprise to him based on his experience in the church.
What's he like behind the scenes? I mean, obviously, we're going to see the side of him now as the Pope, and we've got some sound bites, but is he funny? Is he warm? How would you describe him?
At times he can be funny. He's very warm. Like I told other people who have asked me, since I'm his classmate, I said, my memories of him are from a time when we were in the seminary. I don't know if I would want to be judged how I was 20 years ago.
Right. Right.
That's and his world experiences have shaped him. To be the person now who is the pontiff. So I can't really answer that. Does he have a sense of humor at times? Can it be serious? Yeah. Can it be relaxed? Yeah. But, I can't really tell you he's going to do this in that situation.
What do you think, Dr. Swafford, are the biggest challenges that are going to face him day one with the church right now?
As I think about it, I think the office of the papacy is just almost astronomically impossible. I mean, you are a diplomat on the world stage. You're expected to be telegenic, media savvy, a scholar, a clear teacher, the chief evangelist. I think unity in the church, in the world, I think I see him as a bridge figure. I mean, the name Pope Leo XIV, Leo XIII, you think of Catholic social thought. He's at the fountainhead of that with Rerum Novarum in 1891. And I just really see him bringing different things together, the kind of evangelical spirit of Pope Francis. But, our new Holy Father has a doctorate in canon law as well. So I think what people really want, I work with young people here at Benedictine College where I teach, and they're starving for truth, for meaning, but truth and love together. So bringing truth and love together, love without truth can become mere sentiment, but truth without love is sterile. That's not Christian. So to bring the two together, I think that's really what the church needs. And I think he's the man for the job.
He's the youngest pope since John Paul II. Do you think, Dr. Swafford, that's an indication that he will be a more liberal pope?
I tend to think that conservative, liberal, all these political categories, the church always must be a sign of contradiction. Every age of the church, certain parts of what she believes is going to fit more with the age, and certain parts are going to run against it. I don't know. I just think that to be for the poor, Catholic social thought, that's part of what it means to be Catholic. To be for the unborn who can't even cry to defend themselves, that's part of being Catholic. So I think all those categories, we can use them. They're helpful. They're kind of heuristic, but they're going to break down. And I really think and hope and pray, and I think this is what every pope strives to be, is a sign of contradiction of the world, that we are disciples of the Lord Jesus, and so we're not going to fit in any political box.
How do you think he will handle President Trump's policies? Do you think they're going to come head to head at some point?
I mean, I'm sure they will. I think, just given what I just said, with any president, any party, there's going to be friction, right? Because, Christianity, being Catholic, is a global and historic phenomenon, and it's not just, in the Midwest United States, right? So, I'm sure there's going to be tension at certain points, but that's all part of it. But again, we bow to Jesus, to the Holy Spirit, and we just have to kind of cling to that and not force the faith into political categories, and not see the faith really a means to a political end. That's to flip things upside down.
Yeah, it is interesting how we sort of try to politicize all of this and put the Pope in either a liberal or a conservative box, which is clearly not the case. But Father Bill, I'm curious what you think about it, because people are already going through his tweets. Had retweeted a couple of articles about J.D. Vance. I mean, how do you, based on what you know about him, how do you think he's going to handle that component of the job?
Well, like I said, he's a person who thinks and gets a lot of information, and before he really acts, I mean, I didn't see the tweets about Vance, so I'm not familiar with what he said, but I'm sure whenever he does stuff, it's been highly thought of and prayed over. So I'm not quite sure what type of answer that you're looking for. So I don't really know how he's going to respond.
Yeah, I guess.
Like I said, it was.
We'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, and the tweets were from a couple of years ago, so he probably wasn't at that point assuming that he was going to be the Pope.
Right. So that's
Yeah.
But I do know he always thinks and he gets information and he doesn't make decisions lightly.
Right. Okay. Good to know. Father Bill, Dr. Andrew Swafford from Benedictine College, appreciate you both for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.